Hello and welcome to Nutrition Lunch and Learn, and you are live with Sandra, your RDN. Every week, I have the pleasure of dishing out your dose of nutrition and wellness news for your mind and your body and your soul. And I hope that you are having a wonderful day. And I thank you for those who take the time to tune in live with me every week. It is such an honor to have this platform to reach the masses. And so hopefully you're eating lunch, you're taking a break, you're rejuvenating so that you can give your best effort and have the highest productivity for the rest of your day. And those who are listening to the replay, I thank you for tuning in and taking time out to listen in as well. And I want you that are listening to the replay to enjoy and participate as if you are listening live. I love engagement. So please post questions, comments, aha moments, anything that you want to share, testimonial. It's all about helping each other out. Iron sharpens iron. And I'm quite sure whatever question you have, whatever comment you have will help somebody else. And so we are continuing on our theme of going back to school. Ultimately, it's about getting back on a routine and structure. Typically, months of June and July, we are a little bit relaxed, whether we have kids in school or not. It's just something about those months that we vacation more, we hang out more, we have more family get-togethers, and that's a good thing. It's all about fellowshipping. It's all about having fun and enjoying life. And so we are going to talk about the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts and what those solutions are. And it's not what you think. I know what we are probably having in mind, what your answer is. And so I want you to picture these scenarios. So picture two different people trying to lose weight. Okay. And the troubling part is that when you talk to both people, they have a shared approach to how they're trying to lose weight, but one person is losing it and one person is not. Typical, right? It's always my friend can lose weight no matter what he or she does, and it's hard for me. So they eat meals that are focused on the macros. So you have your balance of carbs, your lean protein, your fats, you have as well as you have your veggies, which veggies is not a macro. And then they're exercising and they're focusing on both cardio and weight. So they're not just doing one thing. So they're pretty good with their exercise, effective in their exercise. And then they know which foods are truly healthy, which ones they should limit, and they're doing that. Okay. So let's say that they're eating healthy for the most part. Okay. So let's say that. And then, but yet one friend is struggling to lose weight. Okay, can't maintain focus. They are struggling. Okay, and then they have trouble controlling their hunger. They always crave sweets despite their biggest efforts at the gym, and they don't seem to achieve the same results as somebody else who seems to be following the same workout program or even eating similar. So, which person are you? Okay, are you someone that loses weight quickly? Or are you someone who loses weight slowly? So just kind of post in the chat there, loses slow or loses fast. Now, we're not talking about 10 years ago. We're not talking about what you used to do when you were young or when we were in college. We're talking about right now. Okay, right now. So are you that slow loser or are you somebody who loses weight relatively quickly? And so today I'm going to talk about the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts and what to do instead. And it is not what you think. Okay. And so a quick introduction of myself for those who do not know me while you are posting your lose quickly or lose fast or slowly or lose fast rather. I'm Sandra Goltry. I'm a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist. I'm also a certified personal trainer and your accountability partner. And so pulling from a variety of leading edge weight loss strategies, lifestyle strategies. Sometimes this stuff just evolves and changes over time. I help adults to integrate healthier eating habits into their daily routine, to their daily lifestyle. The goal is to build lifestyle habits that are realistic and that last for life. Okay, so that's really what it's all about in a nutshell. Again, chime in, say hello to me as you're tuning in. Tell me your name, where you're tuning in from, and are you a person who loses weight fast, or are you a person that loses weight slowly? Okay, right now. Okay, we're not talking about in the past. We're talking about right now. Okay, and so Again, this month's theme is about going back to school. Getting back on a routine is really the nuts and bolts of it. Getting back on some type of structure. June and July, we tend to have some relaxations going on. And so it's about getting back on track after that summertime madness, the madness of summer camps, vacations, theme parks, eating more in general, eating out more. And now August rolls around, and most of us are seeking that routine and seeking that structure that existed before school ended. Whether you have kids or not that are in school, whether you're past that phase or not, it still applies because life is just different in the summer months. And so we got to kind of reel it back in to get to the holidays, right? So the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts and the solutions. So I always do my poll question. So let's do my poll here. So of these three choices, what do you think? Which one do you think is the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts? Is it overeating? Is it lack of exercise? Is it lack of water? So which ones do you think, or is it something else? Do you think maybe it's something else altogether? But of these three, which ones do you think are the main culprits for not being able to lose weight or being difficult to lose weight? Okay. I have a lot more of these running in my head. I'm thinking about under eating. I'm thinking about, things like that. Of course, you can say dieting. You can come up with different scenarios. But if you think it's something else other than these three, let me know. So the drum roll. So I'm about to reveal. Continue typing. Don't change your answer. I'm going to reveal the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts, and it's going to surprise most of you. Okay, even with the best eating pattern, even with the best fitness exercise routine, even if you have a trainer, etc., if your sleep is off, your weight loss efforts are severely hindered. Okay, sleep. All right, so sleep controls so many things, but we're going to focus on diet right now. And so according to the CDC, more than 35% of people are sleep deprived. And that number is probably higher. And when you consider the statistics for obesity is nearly identical, it's easy to see the connection, how those dots connect, and discover that it's not just a coincidence, okay? And so we have all heard that in order to lose weight, we should eat less, move more. Well, it is really not that simple. If it was that simple, then we would not have the health epidemic that we have going on, the obesity at the rates that they're at. And so everybody's healthy and everybody's feeling good if it was just that easy. So sometimes you want to eat less and move more, but it seems impossible to do that. Sometimes just doing those two things in itself are difficult, right? Because life, and how do you manage all that stuff? And so does this sound familiar to you? Just simply post yes or no. I'm gonna throw some things out for you. Between living your life, you're working, you have your family, you have your kids, you're trying to fit in some exercise, sleep just kind of falls through the cracks, okay? Sleep just kind of is an afterthought. We get 3 hours, we good. And so yes or no, if that's you, and no judgment, because that's actually an area where when I feel myself getting overwhelmed, or if I feel like I have a lot on my plate and I'm like, where do I begin? How do I chisel through all this stuff? I do find myself staying up, an hour later here, an hour later there, and it does impact, and it trickles and it spills over, and it does impact other areas of your life. You may not make the connection, but it really does. And so we are going to, for those who are just tuning in, let me know that you're on, where you're tuning in from, and if you are a fast loser as far as weight goes or a slow loser. We're talking about currently rather in the past. And we're talking about the number one mistake that wrecks weight loss efforts. And so we had revealed that the answer is sleep. And so now we're going to go a little bit deeper. What are the effects of lack of sleep? Okay, so I'm going to mention two today. So number one, it changes your fat cells. Okay, so if you ever wondered why you wake up exhausted, or maybe in the day you're feeling dazed, confused, maybe even a little grumpy. So, typically within just 4 days of sleep deprivation. And so, we're going to talk about what that means. So, the obvious 3 hours and 4 hours, that is sleep deprivation. You make it through your day, but your body is deprived. So about 4 days of that, your body's inability to properly use insulin, which is the primary hormone that's dealing with the sugar, becomes completely disrupted. Okay. And so when the insulin is not functioning well, then excess insulin ends up as stored fat in all the wrong places. One place, and I'm not speaking physically, but in the wrong place internally, and one of those areas is our liver. Okay. And so this is also how we become fat and facilitate that process of the onset of diabetes. It's not the only, but it just kind of gets us on that track of having a multitude of health issues. And so number two, it makes you crave food. Okay, sleep deprivation can lead to a higher level of food cravings. And so many believe that hunger is related to willpower and learning how to control the call of your stomach. This is far from true. So, hunger is controlled by two hormones, leptin and ghrelin. And just a little bit of science here. I'm going to throw a little bit of science out to you. So, leptin is a hormone that is produced in your fat cells. And so, the less leptin you produce, the more your stomach feels empty. And so, the more ghrelin, which is a hormone that I kind of call the greedy hormone, the more that you produce, then the more you stimulate hunger while also reducing the amount of calories you burn. So think about your metabolism slowing down and increasing the amount of fat that you store. Okay, so these are the two primary hormones that impact our weight. Okay, so all this other stuff that you hear about, there's just two hormones that are primarily regulating our weight. And so trust that there are other factors though that do go into this equation. But in the nutshell, adequate sleep will help you to control the necessary balance between the leptin and the ghrelin and aid into successful weight loss, as well as the education that you need to keep it off. So it's twofold here. It's great to lose it, but we also need to have the tools in order to keep it off. All right. So that being said, hopefully post in if you feel less defeated. Hopefully you feel less defeated. Hopefully this is good news. Okay. Because a lot of times I tell people you don't know, or I tell my clients you don't know what you don't know. And so therefore, in many cases, your struggles are not your fault. If you're reading something or you're pulling something down or somebody's telling you what worked for them and it sounds great. And so marketing is a beautiful thing or not, right? And so you don't know what you don't know. And so the big takeaway message is that cravings stem from deeper factors than just your willpower. Okay. And it doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean you're lacking anything. And it's just not as simple as we think it is. And so it just doesn't boil down to your willpower and your ability to control what your stomach is trying to call for. And so as a side note, willpower never works in regards to controlling your food intake. Okay. This is where some knowledge comes in. Okay. And understanding how food works and how to make it work for you. And so another point or a final point on the effects of lack of sleep are sleep sabotages our exercise and our work habits. So I was looking for my banner, but I don't see my banner, but that's okay. So sleep sabotages our exercise and our workout efforts. And how does that happen? And so unfortunately, the disastrous impact of lack of sleep, it spreads beyond eating and it spills over into our workouts. And so no matter what your fitness goals are, having some muscle on your body is important. So body composition does make a difference. And so muscle is the enemy of fat. Okay. So muscle helps you to burn fat and it helps you to stay young. It helps you stay vibrant. It helps you to stay energetic. And so, but sleep or the lack of sleep is the enemy of muscle. Okay. So research continues to support that sleep deprivation decreases your body's ability to make muscle. It causes you to lose muscle and it can lead to higher incidence of injury, of course, as well. I mean, a lot of times people don't realize that, but if we're sleep deprived and we're sluggish, that is going to impact our effectiveness in our workouts. And so if you think about professional athletes, getting adequate rest is very important part of their regimen, but that's the part you don't hear about. We just kind of see how hard they work, but getting proper rest is also very, very, very important. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. Now, I want you notice it's be honest at the end of it. Okay. So here's a scenario. Let's say you're on day 4, okay, of getting like 3 to 4 hours or maybe even less of sleep. All right. And then the clock goes off because you're still trying to push through. You're still trying to get it in, even though you're not getting enough rest. So the clock goes off. It's time to do your workout. You are feeling the lack of sleep catching up. Okay. You can barely get out of bed. What do you currently do? Okay. So what do you currently do? Do you sit this workout out? Do you just say, oh, I need to get some rest. I really am really tired and struggling. Or do you get up and do you push through it? Okay. So do you sleep in or do you go ahead and work out even though you are waking up and you know you are dragging? So be honest and state what you do. Okay. I'll share what many people do and many of my clients do. And sometimes I'm guilty of it as well. So I won't say sometimes, I'm guilty of it as well. We want to push through it because we want to say that we got that workout in. But I have matured in this process and it took a while, but you have to get to a point where you realize that if you are that tired and it's that hard for you to get out of bed and you've gone that many days without getting proper rest, you need to sleep. You need to get that rest in, and you need to work on getting proper rest throughout the entire night, every day. Okay. No matter what is going on in your life, for the most part. Of course, there's always exceptions, but we don't want it to become a 3 and 4 day, 5-day ordeal where you're lacking sleep. And so, so be honest. Many of us do try to work out because we want to say we got it in, right? We want to say we got it in, but there are impacts to that. Okay. There are definitely impacts to that. And so what is the takeaway message for today? And so what's the solution? What's the solution to the sleep deprivation? And that being the number one mistake that we make, and it impacts our weight loss. And so the solution is to prioritize sleep, right? Easy, right? Prioritize sleep. If it was only so easy, right? And so specifically for today's topic, when we're talking about getting back on a routine, that is usually where we need to start because the summer months we're relaxed. So many cases we're getting up later than we normally would get up. We're staying up later than we normally would when we have that more of a routine during the fall and the spring months. And so you need to schedule your sleep. You need to get that boundary back in place. Okay. And so there's no hard number that applies to all people, but a general good rule of thumb is to receive between 7 and 9 hours of rest. Okay. And I have talked to many people who said 7 hours, that's way too much. There's no way in the world I can get 7 hours of sleep. Yes, you can. And yes, you should. And if you're not, that means you got way too much going on. And so usually with my clients, I will start with 7. I have some that come on board. Oh, I get my sleep. So they get more than 7, which is great. I say, keep that. So now let's get the nutrition and the exercise and the other pieces on the same level as your sleep. And then you are stepping into your highest level of health is what I like to say. And so we start out with that 7 hours because it is very important. Okay. Not just impacts your sleeping. I mean, the lack of sleep not only impacts your food choices and your weight, but it impacts your mood. It impacts your level of concentration. It impacts hormones. It impacts a lot of areas of our lives. And we just don't really think about that. And make sure that one poor night of sleep doesn't turn into several days because we're going to have our moments, but we want to nip that in the bud. And when your body starts to feel sluggish, that's your body's survival mechanisms telling you, I need sleep. And so we shouldn't ignore it and we shouldn't push through it and thinking that that's a badge of honor. No, we need to listen to our body because it's trying to tell us, hey, I need my sleep. We need to slow down. So listen to your body, okay? Because then it leads to other things. And a lot of us know and have experienced what it can lead to. And so it may not seem like much, but it can make all the difference in the world. And one of the most important health decisions that you really can make, and it helps to build those healthy lifestyle habits, and it helps to build healthy eating habits. And so if you're cringing because you can't imagine getting 7 hours of sleep, then again, that means you got way too much going on in your life. And that's all of us, because we're way too busy nowadays. We got way too much going on, and we need to learn how to set boundaries and set priorities so that we don't overcommit ourselves and hence overdoing it. Okay. And so whether it's overcommitted, overwhelmed, stress, or the like, our circumstances does not change what our body needs, okay, to perform at its optimal capacity. So whatever life events come on, our body is unaware of that. It still needs what it needs. And so in order to deal with the life events, it's good to have good nutrition, good rest, and we're active. Okay. And so the big question is, how do you get 7 hours of sleep? Like, how in the world do you make that happen? Okay. Every night. And so, and with all that you have going on, right? How do you make that happen? So the good question, that is a very good question. I welcome the opportunity to figure that out with you. Okay. I have a series of sleep exercises that I walk through with my private clients to help them to pave that way to adding more hours of sleep to their lives. So it is definitely possible. It is possible. And it's important too, not just that. And so many don't realize that part of having a restful night, though, that one of the pieces that aids into having a restful night is to have good nutrition. Okay. And so that's where we're going to start here on this live. And so I recommend that you download my free guide, meal plan, it's called Jumpstart Your Weight Loss and Boost Your Energy Levels. So that kind of is a plug in there for that sleep part. And it's a 5-day meal plan, fast, easy to prepare recipes and meals that will give you step-by-step prep guide, grocery list, and it guides you every step of the way. And so again, you can follow, I would share, you can follow the 5-day meal plan in its entirety, or you can just pick and choose. But the good thing is you can kind of see the foods and the pairings of your meals and your snacks in order to give your body the gas that it needs, okay, in order to help you to sleep better, in order to help you to feel rested when you wake up, and to help you to have energy throughout the day. That sustainable energy that we always talk about. And what's great about it is if you're not savvy in the kitchen, it helps you with planning and prepping. So it helps you guide you through, okay, you can do a few things on this day and maybe you have a day off. And you do a few things on this day, but you're not having to do a massive amount of planning and prepping every single day. And so to take advantage of that ability to grab your snacks and go, grab your meals and go, and just pop it in the microwave. That's a beautiful thing when the unexpected pops up. So it really is a lifesaver. It saves you from eating out, saves you from ordering out. So it saves you from being so vulnerable. All right, so post any questions, comments, testimonials, aha, ouches, anything. But sleep is so very important. So and a good start is by downloading this guide to kind of at least get that process started of fueling your body. And if you want to take it a step further, then we can also have a conversation about it as well. All right. So this concludes what I wanted to share with you, your weekly dose of nutrition and wellness news for your mind, your body, and your soul. Thank you for tuning in to today's Nutrition Lunch and Learn. I am Sandra, your RDN. And next week, we will continue on the August theme of getting back on track, getting back on a routine, a structure, kind of that back to school, which you're going to hear a lot about in August, right? And I am going to feature my up close and personal segment, and I'm going to feature Miss Joanne Britton. And this is your opportunity to hear from real people as they share their personal testimonies and their powerful journeys. And what's beautiful about it is it usually will show you that you're not the only one. And it doesn't matter your age, because at 70, Miss Britton finally lost 27.5 pounds. And she did this within 3 months. And despite despite spending thousands of dollars on diets, and she was just kind of to the point where she wanted a lifestyle. So mark your calendars, tune in as Miss Britton shares her history with diet programs, her weight loss struggles, and how she is maintaining her weight loss. And she went from a tight 14 to a size 8. So my ladies can definitely relate to that. So definitely tune in, and definitely is a lot of useful and powerful inspirational information on that one. All right. So blessings to each and every one of you, and thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.